And welcome back to another episode of PWT Talks NXT here on the PWTorch Daily Cast or on YouTube if you're watching us live. So if you are, thank you very much for joining us live here tonight. Talk some NXT for January 27th, 2026. As you can tell, I'm talking, meaning Kelly's not here. So here with me tonight is Kevin P. Cattani. Kevin, thank you very much for joining me, man. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I'm ready to talk some wrestling. And listen, before we get into it, I don't know if I'm allowed to offer this, but former contributor and friend of the PWTorch, Zach Haydorn, it's his birthday today. So in case he still checks into our stuff, happy birthday, Zach.
Yes, I saw that on Facebook earlier today. Happy birthday, Zach. Happy birthday. And we may also get a run-in from David Miller. I'm not sure. David covered the report for Kelly and wrote something about him joining the podcast. I wasn't aware of that, but if he does join, the more the merrier, and we'll talk some wrestling. So we had I don't know, I feel like this was like an eventful show. There was a lot going on, but it also didn't feel super important. Feels like, at least to me, a lot of resets and things going on after all of the call-ups to the main roster. But the biggest, I think kind of the biggest thing throughout the course of the show is the NXT qualifiers, qualifiers for the ladder match for the NXT Men's Championship. We had two matches tonight. We're supposed to have three qualifier matches, but the night started off with the Vanity Project, presumably the Vanity Project, attacking Joe Hendry. It was supposed to be what's his name? Jackson Drake versus Joe Hendry in that qualifier, and well, they took him out. So Ava basically scrapped that match and just put Jackson Drake into the match himself, but said if Joe Hendry was cleared, he could join the match. That was the beginning of the show. Cut to the very end of the show here, and we had all five of the seven members of this NXT Championship ladder match in the ring. Shiloh Hill, Keanu Carver, Sean Legacy, Dion Lennox, and Jackson Drake. This was like in the last about 5-6 minutes of the show. Each person kind of given a reason as to why they're going to win the NXT Championship in that ladder match next week. We had Ricky Saints, who was shown quite a bit throughout the course of the show. Ricky Saints, and also Lexus King and Stax, and we'll talk about that later. But Ricky Saints grabs the ladder and he makes his way out to the ramp, gets up on top of the ramp, on top of the ladder, and kind of cuts down, why he's going to be the one that wins and whatnot. Brings the ladder into the ring after Keanu started the brawl. Joe Hendry winds up also making his way out to the ring, gives a choke slam to Ricky Saints, and then Keanu wound up taking him out at the very end. So kind of a bit of a chaotic end to the show, but gets all seven members of this ladder match out in the ring. Ryan Solorio says this episode feels like a go-home show to next week, and it kind of did. I mean, it's not a named show next week, as far as I'm aware. Don't remember them calling it something next week, other than next week. But it did. It kind of felt like it was a bit of a go-home show. I think that's probably what I meant when I said there was a lot of stuff that went on that was unimportant, but it didn't feel important because it was kind of building to next week. So, Kevin, let me throw it to you. Let's, kind of talk a little bit about, this final segment, and then, who do you think may, have a chance of actually winning this ladder match next week?
Sure. Well, I'm always one for a good parade of characters, right? If my time at Disney has taught me nothing, you get all your main characters out so that everybody can cheer for their favorite. This is a weird match because I really feel like fortunately or unfortunately for ladder matches in NXT, I will always measure them against the first takeover at WrestleMania New Orleans that had Adam Cole in the Velveteen Dream, and like that first ladder match they did at a takeover. And I was fortunate enough to be in the crowd for that, but that was just, if that's not a top 10 NXT match, I don't know what a top 10 match is then. Um, and so, as they have had other versions of it, unfortunately for them, that's sort of the bar I have in my head. But I think what I appreciate about um, this iteration is that there isn't really any, I'll say, legacy for lack of a better term, but Ricky is still new to the company by and large. Keanu has been a developmental guy for a while. Sean Legacy just coming up from Evolve. Was that Dion Lennox? I'm
Dion Lennox, yep.
Yeah, he's also sort of been a background player. Joe Hendry is probably one of the bigger name value guys, and then Shiloh Hill from
LFG.
LFG, and so it's really very like NXT developed. Like it feels like a match you would want to put these guys in to see, can Ricky and Joe carry it as the veterans? How does the Evolve call up do? How do two guys that have been a part of a faction but and sort of in the background step up to show what they're about? So I'm very interested to see how it goes, and I think if I were to guess at who might win, I don't know that I have a guess, because I think we're gonna. Oh, Ryan, yeah, Lars Sullivan's first 5-star match, yes. And
I can't
also,
believe Lars Sullivan has more 5-star matches than Kurt Angle. That's ridiculous.
listen, depends on which podcast and which Twitter accounts you follow.
Yeah, that's true.
And sorry, also Pete High and hey CJ, there he is. Look, he's here. So I think we're going to know a lot about the direction of NXT going into WrestleMania season based on who wins this. Because I think if they want to play it safe, they'll put it on Ricky and or Joe Hendry. But I think if they put it on any of the other guys, it's going to be a, hey man, we're going to give you the ball and see what you do with it. As much as I don't know if you follow Sean Legacy on social media at all, but he's created a whole library of videos with that turn the lights off meme with and I'm blanking on the actor's name, but he kind of looks off in the distance there as the techno music plays. He has a whole library of it. Tom Ham, there we go, Tom Ham. And so I think he's fabulous, and I'm very excited to see how he grows in NXT. But I think he's going to be one of the fall guys. Honestly, and I meant to say this, and certainly we'll see what the chat says. And I'm thinking of I want to know what you think too, but I think Keanu Carter, I think they have to be very careful with him, because as I watched him tonight, he was very much an Obafemi light. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but body size is similar, power moves are similar. He does not have the aura or the charisma yet, but if they're trying to sort of the Indiana Jones, remove the idol and fill it with the sandbag, I don't know. I think that they need to develop his character a little more to let him really, really stand out. And then the other thing, I don't know if you saw some strong rumors that Evil from New Japan might be showing up, might be signing a deal with WWE. They've already trademarked the name Sinister. So apparently they won't go with Evil. But I think he's too established to be in NXT, but could he make an appearance as sort of a Tide swisher for this match? Or are they going to bring him in the Rumble? I don't know. But I think that's a pretty cool thing to have in your back pocket. So I don't know if I want to play it safe. My safe pick would be Saints or Joe Hendry. And as you know, you and I were believers. But because of what I saw on LFG, if I had to choose a wild card, I'll pick Shiloh Hill, and we'll see if they can't let him have one of those crazy deranged title runs for the next little bit. So
I think my pick is Shiloh Hill, but mostly just because I love Shiloh Hill, and I think it would just be a great great TV. You know, the wrestling analyst in me is kind of more like he probably isn't going to be Shiloh Hill. He'll probably have a good showing. But the fan in me wants to see
Right.
Shiloh Hill win this. Um, I'm in agreement. I mean, I feel like the safe option is for either Joe Hendry or Ricky Saints. They are the ones that have established name value already, and I feel like could carry a promotion, be the face of a promotion, whereas everybody else. I mean, Dion Lennox, sure, he's come a long way from where he was a year ago, but he's still, like you said, he's really still a background player. You know, Sean Legacy, great talent, but I don't see him as NXT champion yet. However, Shiloh Hill, I could see that, even though I don't necessarily think it's going to necessarily be him. I could see that. It makes sense. I could make a case for it. And then Keanu Carver, I could also make a case for that, especially after what we saw tonight. Or as Booker T calls him, Keanu Carver. He can't pronounce Keanu, which is weird, but whatever. Keanu. Um, Good old Booker T. We also have here it is. Ryan Solario thinks that it could be Ricky Saints with the help of Powerhouse Hobbs, who just apparently signed with WWE. I don't know if it's been. I know I saw rumors. I don't know if that was fully reported or not yet. Now that I'm actually here talking about it, but that's something that could be. We also did see a vignette, or not a vignette, a backstage segment with Tony D'Angelo talking with Ava backstage. Ricky Saints basically was already in the office basically saying to Ava, like, hey, please make sure nobody interferes in this ladder match. I want to make sure I win my title back. Tony D'Angelo walks in the room, talks with Ava. Ava asks what his intentions are. And he's like, I'll make my intentions known next week. She immediately says, do not interfere in that ladder match. And he gives her this look like, yeah, Ma, I will. I won't interfere in the ladder match. I wouldn't do that. And then kind of walks out. So there's also that possibility that Tony D'Angelo interferes, and that could also change up the course of what happens. Heck, maybe Tony D'Angelo interferes, climbs, grabs the title, and walks out. I don't know. I don't know if we've ever even seen something like that in a ladder match before. But that's something they could
No,
do.
the closest we've seen to that is, remember when um, what's his name there? The smarmy little scrawny guy like climbed up and got the belt for Carmella for the one of the Money
Oh
in the
yeah,
Banks.
Ellsworth. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Ellsworth climbed. I think that's the closest we've come to that.
Yeah, that was honestly it's kind of the only thing I could think of too. Um, but so there's quite a few different ways we could go with this. It's like I said at the beginning of the show, it's really a reset for WWE right now. They're and I feel like it's both the male and female roster. They lost their top players, and so now it's kind of we're in that. I mean, this is a cyclical thing with NXT. You build up your top players, they get called to the main roster, and then you're in a rebuilding period. So we're in that rebuilding period right now. Probably will be for the next, I don't know, 3 to 6 months or so. I, I don't know. I like I said, I'm hoping it's Shiloh Hill. Saints or Joe makes the most sense. I feel like Keanu is the wild card, especially where the kind of how they've been portraying him. I do agree with you as an Obafemi light. He kind of does feel like that was actually my exact thought watching that match was he felt like an Obafemi light. Um, same build, same kind of move set, same power, but you're exactly right. He lacks that charisma, and that character that Obafemi had. So I don't think it would ever be like a one for one, like you said, the Indiana Jones swap. I think they're going to try that swap, and then all of a sudden, Indiana Jones going to be getting chased by a ball. Um, yeah,
But
no,
also, Nate, can I say,
yes,
um, if it is Saints or Joe Hendry that win, which again would be totally fine, I also think that the other five guys, like, there's your world title program, like probably even into the early part of summer. Like
oh
to
yeah,
me, each of those guys is a believable enough challenger that even if we don't think they're going to win, I think we're going to see a lot in this match about how the different pairing offs happen. And I do think what we're seeing in that ring is the next 4 to 6 months of title challengers barring any injuries or sort of freak signings from one place or another.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good sign too. Is I don't look at that ring and say people don't deserve to be there, but I do think several of those folks make more sense to carry the brand for the next little bit, as opposed to a different path.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you there. The only one that I think, and I don't even want to say doesn't deserve it or hasn't earned it, because I hate saying that about anybody who's putting their heart and soul into their character and whatnot. But for me, it's Dion Lennox. Dark State has not been, at least to me, hasn't been that anarchist faction that I really think that they wanted Dark State to be. They've caused some chaos and whatnot here and there, but I don't know. They just feel like bit players to me. Being the leader of that group, okay, fine. Maybe it makes sense to put him in this match, but whatever. But the other six definitely make sense. Shiloh, and I guess for people like Shiloh and Keanu, what did they really do to deserve this match? They're brand new, but I mean, they obviously beat somebody to be put in the match, sure. But I don't know. Like I said, we're at that reset point, and this I don't know. It should be fun. It should be fun whichever way we go. These are some greatly talented guys, including Dion Lennox. I will lump him in there because I think he is a talented wrestler. So I'm really curious to see which way this goes. Like you
Yeah,
said, this is really going to shape how the NXT landscape is for the men's division anyway. As we roll into Stand and Deliver WrestleMania season over the next couple months. I can't believe after Saturday we'll be talking about the road to WrestleMania already. It feels
isn't
like
that
it
crazy?
just happened.
Isn't that crazy?
Like holy crap.
Now
Um,
I don't know if you want to save time for this at the end, we can, but I kind of thought that, and now of course I'm blanking on. Oh, Jasper Troy. I thought he would have been a good person to have in this
yeah,
ladder match as the heavy who, can take some bumps, but can also, throw some of the little guys around. But he's not. Do you think there's a chance he shows up in the Rumble?
I mean, there's always a chance. I I'm gonna say no.
I mean, he is the speed
Um,
champion, Nate. That's
yeah, yeah. I mean, there is a chance. I don't know. I'm gonna say no. I feel like, well, I don't know, maybe because he was the LFG winner, so the main roster people might be familiar with him. Yeah, I'll give it like a 30% chance,
okay.
maybe,
All right.
because like I could see it, but I don't know, I feel like those 30 spots could be taken up by some bigger names
But
or
can I tell
whatever.
you? And I do. I
Sure.
think maybe we can talk at the end because since Royal Rumble is Saturday and they usually do include some NXT guys, I think it fits with our show here. But I think in sort of macro, if I just give it another thought and we can move on, this is probably one of the first years of the men's Royal Rumble that I don't feel is going to be clogged up with a lot of legacy guys. Like
Yeah.
Cena's gone, AJ's in his own. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this is going to be current and future main roster, and we might see a heavy dose of NXT again, just to sort of signal a put your foot in the ground and move in that new direction, and let's see kind of what we got. So I'll say that for now.
Yeah.
We can come back to it, but
No, and I think you're absolutely right. Because like you said, we've got a lot of those legacy guys that are gone, and I mean over the last handful of years, we haven't had many of those legend returns. Like Roddy Piper entering the Rumble. What was it, 2004, 5, 6? I forget. The Hurricane a handful of years ago. Diesel at one point. Doink. We haven't got a whole lot of them. So there's part of it, and those are some of my favorite moments in the Rumble. They're not going to win, but it's just cool to see them. Um, I'm kind of hoping we get a couple of those. I think it's more likely we see more NXT involvement in the Women's Rumble, and that's just from
Yeah.
the foreshadowing of that one scene we saw tonight with Ava talking to somebody on the phone, mentioning that the NXT Women's roster is super deep. So whatever you decide for the Rumble, who we don't know who you is, but whatever you decide for the Rumble, I'll go with, is what she said. Um, so yeah, but I mean, I think I think you certainly make good points because like it is. I feel like the Rumble's been such an afterthought this year. Nobody like, I mean, it was up until what, like this week or last week that nobody had actually declared themselves for the
Right.
Royal
Right.
Rumble. It's just kind of been, hey, Royal Rumble's happening, and we get a couple commercials here and there, and that's it. Um, matter of fact, I forgot that it was this weekend until earlier today. I happened to see a thing on the internet, and I was like, "Oh yeah, right, that's Saturday." And usually I mark that on the calendar like in June, so maybe not quite
Also,
that early,
quick,
but yeah,
I'll come down to Pete here. Pile driver Pete says he thinks that the Saudi prince is getting Jericho,
yeah,
and good fella, I will see your 30 and I will raise you a 1, purely for the ego trip for Jericho to say that he's not going to win it, but he'll come in at number 1 and like take a nap, take a couple of naps. He'll fall out under the rope. Like I think I'd rather see him at 1 and shock to start, and just give him the boost of just being in there the whole time.
yeah. Well, and that was his spot too for a handful of years. He'd come in with a relatively early spot and he'd last. He was
Hmm.
kind of because there's usually one or two people that last for quite a while, and they kind of I feel like they help direct traffic
Yeah, yeah.
during the Rumble. So he would be a good person for something like that too. So yeah, I think we'll definitely get to see Jericho. In that. There's rumors of Paige returning for the women.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
So I saw that. I saw that on Facebook like
Al-
maybe 20 minutes before we started here tonight.
Also, Nate, and I'm sorry that we don't have Kelly tonight, because I would love to hear his thoughts on Evil, especially as a
Yeah.
potential entrant in the Rumble. Like he's got to be losing his mind right now.
Oh yeah. Totally. Totally.
Okay, sorry, we
So
digress.
no, totally fine. It is my favorite time of the year, Royal Rumble. I get more excited about the Rumble than I do for Mania. Um, yeah. But anyway, let's yeah, we can I don't know if we got more Rumble questions or whatever, you guys feel free to throw them in. We'll hit them, but let's move on. We'll go to the main event match for the night. Andre Chase versus Keanu Carver. This was a relatively quick match. Saw Keanu Carver go over. Keanu wound up attacking Andre Chase after the match. He had Chase kind of awkwardly, he was like still in the ring, but he had Chase's head kind of like sticking out of the corner of the ring and sticking laying on the steps, the steel steps, and kind of just like stepped on, like stomped on his head like a not like a Seth Rollins curb stomp, but more like a back alley curb stomp. Um, and they kind of cut to, I don't know if it was a commercial. I don't remember if it was a commercial or they just cut to a couple other things and came back. But Andre Chase looked, I mean, very much out of it. Good acting. Had some blood coming out. The color of it looked like it was probably a blood capsule to me, but that, whatever. Hopefully it was a blood capsule. I don't mean whatever in terms of, yeah, maybe he was hurt. I don't care. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
but hopefully it was a blood capsule. But that was kind of to build up the kind of that monster that is Keanu Carver. And then that all led into the segment that we had just talked about.
Yeah.
Um, I, I mean, coming right into this match, Andre Chase, he's not going to necessarily win, especially with them kind of pushing Keanu Carver. So this is exactly what I expected. Um, I was going to talk about the segment before this, but I'm gonna hold off on that. And we'll talk about that all at once. So yeah, let me throw it over to you, Andre Chase, Keanu Carver. Don't know if there's a whole heck of a lot to talk about there that we haven't already talked about, but if there is, there you go.
Yeah, I think what I'll say is not really about the match. And as an academic, I love any chance to show off academics in other hobby spaces I belong in. Right? There's a For those of you that are familiar with Magic the Gathering, there's a whole planet that has to do with college and professors and all that. So I love the Chase U thing.
Strixhaven?
Strixhaven, yes, sir. I loved Randy Savage's brother when he was, playing. He came out in the graduation robe. Like, I love it. But
Lanny.
Leo Lanny, I cannot believe that Andre Chase still has a job. Um, and I really think the lines from his buddies in the backstage segment before he came out, I think very much sounded like a commentary of sort of Chase U, but more so, here are two guys that are looking to Andre Chase as a mentor. And I don't, kayfabe fine, but like even in that, what has he done that is deserving of any follower where these two guys couldn't hitch their wagon to a different horse and move quicker? I mean, shoot, OTM is contending for a title. You know what I mean? Like I think that one guy, when the one gentleman said, we've been sitting around waiting, listening to you and not doing anything, and what has it got us? Fair point. And I don't
Yep.
I don't know what Andre Chase has that's keeping him employed, and I don't mean to talk ill of him in that way, but like they've got a lot of other people that deserve time and they need to develop, and the fact that he was in one of these matches, maybe
Yeah.
he is a really good trainer. Maybe they're going to keep him around. I don't know, but like, I don't know. So I think that's what stuck out to me was the fact that he has still survived all these cuts. Just blows my mind sometimes. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, you know what? There is somebody has to be at the bottom of the card, right? So,
well,
there is that. But I would, especially with the TNA involvement, I would love to see him revert to a bravado brother, and go back to his because he was in TNA for a really really short stint. I think it was like 2016, something like that. I might be getting my time frame wrong, but he was a detective along with Lance Bravado, and I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cool for him to just kind of like revert to that and almost give us something along the lines of what Tyler Breeze and Fandango did.
The Fashion Police?
Fashion Police, thank you. I couldn't think of what the hell they were called, Fashion Police. But something like that, that'd be fun. But no, so I did say I wanted to talk about the segment before, and you brought it up. So before this match, Andre Chase was backstage talking with Cale Dixon and Uriah Connors. And Uriah Connors kind of brought up the fact that, why am I here? I'm no better off than I was before, following you and yada yada. And then Cale Dixon and Chase walk away, and we saw Lexis King, Stax, and Ariana Grace come over and basically, say to him like, hey, I think I wrote it down. Maybe I didn't. I thought so. Oh, yeah. King walked up to him and congratulated him for realizing that he's in this weird spot right now, and said that his father would be proud. And I think a lot of people forget or don't know that Uriah Connors is Brogan Finley. He is Fit Finley's son, and we saw a bunch of times Lexis King, who is the son of
Brian Pillman.
Thank you. Wow, I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. We also have Ariana Grace, who is the daughter of Santino. We have they talked to Charlie Dempsey, who is the son of William Regal. I think we're going to have a kind of a legacy, almost like legacy.
I was going to say that's the word I was going to use. Yeah.
Legacy was what? Randy Orton, Ted DiBiase, Cody Rhodes, and the Snuka's kid.
Curtis Axel. Tamina?
No. Snuka's kid, the one who didn't catch the Undertaker when he was pretending to be a cameraman. Snuka's kid was involved in Legacy for like 3 weeks or something like that.
Geez.
Well, I wasn't even watching at the time, but I do know that. But I kind of feel like that's where the direction we're headed. I don't think Stax has.
Yeah, I didn't really know what his tie, except that he's with Grace. I didn't really understand, and I knew Ryan was going to come through with it. That a boy, look at him.
Sim Snuka, thank you.
He's
Sim
on
Snuka.
it. He's on it.
Yes.
But yeah, I didn't accept that's how Stacks is hooked. I don't know that he is a second or third generation guy.
Yeah, I don't think he is, but I think he'll be part of whatever the. Actually, I know he's not. I literally just pulled up his Wikipedia page, and it doesn't say anything about his parents. But I think he'll still be part of that faction because of his tie to Ariana Grace. But I think everybody else in this presumed faction, they're all going to be, at least second or third generation superstars. And
Read
I'm
Pete.
all. Sorry, what's
Read
that?
Pete's comment. I just laughed out loud.
Stack's new character's boyfriend, just boyfriend. Yes,
Yep.
my God. Boyfriend that is hiding the Heritage Cup. Bring it back. Bring it back, damn you.
Yeah, if he got a movie line credit, it would just be boyfriend.
Boyfriend. But yes, I'm really interested to see how this faction kind of, or even if it does become a faction. But I feel like we need something like this. Now, like we said earlier, this is a reset for NXT. So Lexus King, he's somebody that I do feel like they can lean on a bit more than they have been over the last year or so. He's lost a lot of matches. He's been doing a lot of stuff in TNA, but I feel like he's got the charisma. He's good enough in the ring where they could lean on him a hell of a lot more than they have been to be kind of a solid, mid to upper card player. And that could be where they're going with him there. Same with Charlie Dempsey. I don't know. I just feel like that could be a
I
really really cool faction.
I want to see so much more out of Charlie Dempsey. Like knowing that he's the son of like, other than like Haku, like one of the like legitimate like tough guys of that generation, and like he's just a background guy, and I think he's good enough to be more, but I wonder if he's just. And then the bell rang. You know what I mean? Like his personality is not super great. Like he doesn't really like stand out to you. But I feel like Charlie Dempsey, could, excuse me again, could fill in. Remember Timothy Thatcher? Like I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like he could very easily serve that like old school high boots. I'm just gonna beat you up with European uppercuts. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to be flashy.
Well, kind of just revert to the NQCC Charlie Dempsey, really.
Well, and even
Yeah.
mix in, and I know that his name is Mud, but and I'm blanking on his name, but the guy that did all the PowerPoints.
Oh, 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 oh. I had a Twitter war with him once, and I can't think of his name. Somebody will bring it. So I know the chat will help us out.
Ryan, help us. But
Yeah,
like in that
he was.
same way where it's like
Yeah,
no high flying, no high spots. Like he could really lean into being that and lean into the William Regal thing, and I think it would be fabulous. And so hopefully this new thing might be what it takes to sort of push him in that direction.
that's going to drive me nuts. Drew Gulak.
Drew Gulak, there you go.
I knew it was going to
Yes.
drive me nuts. I knew that was going to drive me nuts. I knew exactly who you were talking about. All of a sudden, the name Drew came into my mind.
Yep,
Drew Gulak.
yep,
There
perfect.
we go. I kept calling him Goo Drulak, and he took offense to it on Twitter, and then we got into a Twitter war. It was kind of fun.
Look at you.
Yeah. And it was actually while I was sitting at Battleground in Lowell, Massachusetts, back in May 28th, 2023, according to the poster above my head. Anyway, all right, let's move on. So we talked about that. All right, let's go. Let's talk about Zarya and Sol Ruka and Thea Hale. So I haven't been keeping up with TNA the last handful of weeks, but I guess Sol Ruka and Zarya were on TNA. They're challenging. I think they either challenged or will be. No, they might have challenged for the titles.
I think they are
TNA Knockouts
challenging.
titles.
I think they won the match to put them in the challenger.
Okay,
role.
I think you're right. I think that's what it is. That's right, because they showed a graphic for that match next week. That's right. So I guess there was some dissension between Zarya and Sol Ruka, and the Elegance brand pointed that out in a backstage segment. We then saw Zarya in the locker room on the phone with Sol Ruka asking why she's not there. Um, Sol gave her an answer that she apparently didn't like and just was like, yeah, whatever, and just hangs up the phone and throws it down. Thea Hale walks in the room, kind of looking to maybe, I don't know, be somebody that Zarya could talk to, saying that friends come and go so quickly in NXT. Nobody knows that more than her. And as we know, that's accurate because she's had so many different friends in NXT that has kind of blown up over the last 3 or 4 years. Um, Zarya basically just kind of acted a bully, and told her that she was I forget how she worded it, but essentially falling into championship opportunities when Zarya isn't getting those opportunities. Thea took offense to that and said that she didn't fall into an opportunity. She earned that opportunity. And the only people that she does take offense to are people that tell her she didn't earn it, which led into a match here a little bit later on. So Zarya versus Thea Hale. Excuse me. I got to take a drink real quick. I was sick 3 weeks ago, and I'm still getting over it. But so Zarya versus Thea Hale. Izzy Dame was on commentary for this match. I thought that was a nice touch. In the middle of the match, well, I say the middle, it was towards the end of the match, Tatum Paxley comes out of nowhere and attacks Izzy Dame. The two of them actually chase each other through the ring. Excuse me. Chase each other through the ring, which causes Zarya to get a little bit distracted and allows Thea Hale to roll her up for the win. So I don't know. I like this. I like the fact Thea got her win because Zarya was the one kind of bullying her. So this kind of, it kind of gives a little bit more legitimacy to Thea Hale, even though she did win with the roll up on a distraction. It's still written down in the books that she won. And I'm hoping this might lead back to her getting a shot at the North American title, or maybe even JC's title at some point. I love Thea Hale. I don't know if the ceiling is high enough to be an NXT Women's Champ, but I also didn't think that for Tatum Paxley, and they did put the belt on her for a few weeks. So yeah, let me throw to you on Zarya, Thea Hale, the Tatum and Izzy stuff, and also, do you think that we might now be seeing that Zarya heel turn? Oh, and I forgot to mention, actually, Fatal Influence comes out at the end of this match. Thea tells Zarya, hey, even though you wouldn't just shake my hand, because she tried to shake her hand and Zarya slapped it away, Thea's like, I've got your back here against Fatal Influence. And then Zarya picked her up and gave her an F5, and then Fatal Influence just kind of backed down. So, with that said, do you also think that maybe we're finally seeing a Zarya heel turn, which is eventually going to lead to the breakup of Zaruka?
Oh boy. I'll say no. And I'll say no because the way I've interpreted what they've been doing with Zarya over the last handful of weeks is more along the line of she was the sidekick that didn't know she was the sidekick, that then learned that she was the sidekick, and now she's trying to establish her own footing. Now she is a mauler, and she very much is a power player that should be doing all these big, powerful things. But I don't know that I've interpreted it as heel turn. More of maybe I do need to use my actions to cement my place more than my words or more than my relationships. Now, I honestly I think I don't know that Zarya and Sol are as effective together anymore that they were when they first put them together. Only because I think the reason they put them together was to try to bring them up, to give them that TV time to let them come up together and play off of each other. But I think they're both so unique from each other and unique in general that it's not a disrespect to the tag team and the success that they've had. I think they legitimately do deserve to be singles. And so I think that's how I've interpreted what Zarya has been doing lately, is just that
Yeah.
realization of, you're right. Maybe I have been sort of playing nice in the background a little too much, and I need to take what I want. Maybe I need to be the squeaky wheel. Um, so fine. Yeah, I think what I do wonder, and I don't know that it'll be a heel turn for Thea, as I see Pile Driver Pete's also a big Thea fan. Um, I wonder if this might, now that we have two matches that she has won under less than, they would not satisfy the ROH Pure win rules. I wonder if this might be some sort of shift in character for Thea, where she is beating the drum of earning things and being legitimate and getting wins, and these wins just keep being maybe not fluky, but not in the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3 distractions and help and that sort of thing. Now that said, when I watch WWE, and I know that Todd and Wade talk a lot about this on the Fix each week, and I know that other post shows talk about it. To watch and to love WWE is to accept shenanigans in and around matches. And so I don't ever expect a match to finish clean anymore, which is a shame. But like, to even have had Tatum come out at all, fine. But the second she came out, I looked at my wife and I'm like, they are totally going to just roll through, like watch them roll through the ring. And sure enough, I didn't even finish that sentence. And Izzy did like, knowing that Tatum is smaller than her and not able to throw her in, had to like do the like jump assist thing and still had the headset cord attached to her. And I'm like, oh, good grief. Like, there's like 15 other ways you could have had them distract Zarya than actually going through the middle of the ring. And so, as much as I accept and work through distractions, I thought this was by far the most absurd distraction in a match that I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
So fine. I like that they're keeping Tatum in that North American picture by having her continue to show up and hassle Izzy. So that's good news if you're Tatum, because she, since losing the second time, hasn't really been front and center for a while. Um, and I think it was good to see Fatal Influence without JC Jane. I think that's also part of this sort of new, the WrestleMania season reset that we see is, can those two women stand on their own, especially if JC might be getting called up soon. You know what I mean? Like, I think, they certainly called up some of the guys, but I wonder if, and even Pete said too, like, Sol could be in that next group that is getting called up. Could be JC getting called up, which again, I'm sure you and me and Nate and Tom and others who have been a part of this show would be, well, not rolling around in our grave because we're all alive, but like, certainly she was 3 of 3 when
Still
Mandy
alive.
Rose and what's her name were the original group. And now that she's the one that's still there and she's the champ, I think we're all kind of like, that was not on any bingo card any year that I've been following this program. So I thought that was good that they came out without her, because I think it allowed them to sort of speak and be presences without needing to sort of leech off of whatever rub JC Jane gives. Um, and Ryan, yes, I when we get to that part of the show at the end, I thought those were three pretty good bets to get in. Ryan says he thinks Soul, JC, and Lola might be women's Royal Rumble entrants. I think that's a very good possibility.
I
So
agree with that 100%.
So yeah, so I think in the same way that the parade of characters for the men's ladder match showed you sort of current and future whatever, I think the 6-woman shenanigans of this match did a similar thing, where we have Tatum, who's still sort of a background player but establishing her voice, a champ in Izzy who is trying to establish herself, um, Zarya and Thea and Sol and all that. So I thought it did a very similar thing. Um, and and so I liked it all. I just thought the roll through the middle of the ring thing was the dumbest way to do that I've seen in a while. But I like that all those women were interacting, because hell, with Izzy as a part of that, there could be your next 4 to 6 months of North American um, contenders if none of them sort of go up to JC's title level. So I again, it was shenanigans, but it got a lot of women in the picture that I think are very much who they're trying to build around or develop. Um, and so I was there for it.
All right. So let's talk about Tavion Heights and Lexis King. So this match came
Let's talk
about
about it.
when a little earlier in the night, Elio LaFleur and Eli Knight were talking to Tavion Heights, and Tavion kind of, I guess, more or less welcoming them to NXT. A little bit more was said, but that was kind of the gist of it. Um, Stax, Ariana Grace, Lexis King walk in, and uh, they basically start some beef with the three of them. Tavion Heights takes the most offense to it. It gets up in Lexis King's face, and there was a bit of a pull apart there with between King and Tavion, where a bunch of members of the locker room kind of tried to pull him apart. And leading into this match here, um, where Lexis King and Stax have been kind of doing. They've basically been a team in TNA, and we just talked about a little bit ago. Talked about them now looking like they're trying to recruit second generation wrestlers. Stax and Ariana Grace. I wrote down Ariana Grande. How about that? Ariana Grace come out to support Lexis King. They caused a little bit of a distraction. No, sorry, they didn't cause a distraction. Tavion gets okay. So this finish, I don't know if it was just me, but this finish seemed a little weird. So Tavion whips Lexis King into the ropes, then goes to do a clothesline to try and get Lexis King like to go, clothesline to him onto the ropes to like dump Lexis out of the ring. Lexis King kind of sort of ducks, but it was a weird camera angle. It didn't really look like it was super fluid, which sent Tavion out to the floor. Tavion starts selling his shoulder a little bit. Stax and Ariana Grace kind of like shout at him and make fun of him because he got dumped on the floor right in front of them. He gets back onto the apron and tries to do some sort of a springboard move from the apron into the ring. I'm assuming it was like either shoulder block or a tackle or something like that. And Lexis King basically just kind of like shoved him out of the way midair, and then hit. I can't think of the name of his finisher right now, but hit his finish and grabbed the win. I don't know, for somebody that is so. I'm going to use the word graceful, as Tavion Heights is. Being a collegiate wrestler, being an Olympic wrestler, that finish just seemed weird, and maybe it was the planned finish, and
Yeah,
it didn't go
it
according.
felt like some missed spots
Yeah,
because that tumble over the top rope was a very, I agree with you, a very weird, like, it was supposed to happen, but either Lexus wasn't in the right place or a piece of that was missing, and he's like, "Well, I got to go over," and so he just sort of jumps over, and I'm like, "What? What was that?" I doesn't.
yeah, yeah. It was so weird because I was expecting to see Lexis King fall out. Like the way that they had the camera, Tavion Heights is going for the clothesline, and then they cut the camera angle, and I'm expecting to see Lexis King flip it over and Tavion's flipping. I'm like, what the heck? And they did show a replay, which made a little bit more sense, but still, it looked a little janky. Um, so we've got Goodfella. Tavion's character feels lost, stuck in a funk to me. Pile driver Pete kind of agrees. Heights is definitely bland, another Olympic contender gimmick. I've been saying the same thing now for months. Like, I like Tavion Heights. I think he's a great wrestler. There is charisma there, and we saw that. And I can't think of what show it was, but it was a special show. I'm assuming it was probably PLE or a named show or something like that. I can't remember which one. But Tavion Heights was being interviewed out in the crowd. Like, he was like way at the back of the arena, kind of standing with the fans. And it almost, I don't know, to me, and I don't think I said it at the time, but to me it sounded like he might have had a beer or two with the crowd or something. Um, but he had a ton of charisma in that segment. He was speaking, you could tell he was speaking from the heart. He wasn't trying to hit like bullet points, or maybe he was, I don't know, or recite anything from memory. There was definitely this charisma there and a connection with the audience at that point. And I haven't seen that out of Tavion Heights ever since. Um,
Yeah.
he's we've seen so many of these Olympic wrestler gimmicks now. Kurt Angle did it first, and I think he did it the best. But then obviously we saw Chad Gable and Jason Jordan. Uh, they kind of had a very similar gimmick to the world's greatest tag team. Angle's team back in the day of Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. A lot of comparisons there. We've seen it now with Tyra May Steele, Tavion Heights. It's I don't know. Both he and Tyra May Steele need something to add to their
Yeah.
gimmick
Yeah.
more so than just, hey, we were in the Olympics, which is insane to say, because somebody that's made it to the Olympics in and of itself is an insane feat, and that should be enough to go off of. But it's just been done so much now.
Yeah.
That
I
we
think
need some more.
and I think too, Nate, like, I don't blame. It's kind of like a football coach that's been coaching a while, right? You have success with a certain play or a certain style, and then that style sort of hits a plateau, and then you see something that's like, oh my goodness, that reminds me of that time, and you try to not duplicate it, but like feed off of what was cool about. So like if Kurt Angle is the mold that we're cutting from, they tried it with Gable Steveson. They're trying it with Tavion Heights. They've tried it with other people, and like, I'm gonna say a comment, and I'm saying it with love because I was a high school wrestler. I work with our wrestling team at the university I work with, but there is a very big difference between the mentality of an amateur wrestler and the mentality of a show person that does professional wrestling. And one is taught very much to be intrinsically motivated and head down and focus and be the best version of yourself. And another is taught to be bombastic and turn whoever you are up to a level 11 and rock and roll. And I think it's not impossible, because obviously Kurt Angle did it, but like each time they've tried to bring in an amateur wrestler to see if they can strike into that gold vein that was Kurt Angle, for one reason or another, they don't click. And I do think part of it is the personality that attracts amateur wrestlers. It's a hard switch to flick to turn into sort of ego and sort of all about me. And that can be tough, even with the practice and the rehearsals and the coaches helping. When it goes against your own personal human nature, that can be tough. And so I think that's Tavion's problem. He's a great athlete. He's a technical guy, but like they're asking him to, shout from the rooftops, and he's like, yeah, but I wouldn't really do that. And it's like, okay, well, then here we are. Here we are in the position we're in. And so I think that's Tavion's issue, unfortunately, is that it's not a retread, but like they're trying to tap into that. Well, it worked once. Why can't it work again? Well, there was a lot of factors that made Kurt Angle very unique that the guys that have come past him, just for one reason or another, don't have yet or never had.
Yeah, yeah, and and I don't disagree with you. Like I said, I think it might be within Tavion. I don't think it's been shown yet, but just because of that one segment that we saw, a handful of months ago, with him being interviewed in the crowd, something came out of him there that I haven't seen since. And if he can harness that, and he can tap
Yeah.
into that, and bring that to his character, I feel like that's going to serve him well. But if not, or they won't allow him to,
Well, and then that's the other question. Did they
yeah,
see that and go, whoa, 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 like that's cool and all, but like,
but tone it down a little bit, yeah. So I don't know, but I think
also,
with
can I ask you a question? Is
absolutely.
is Lexus King serving Johnny Polo for you like he is me?
Ooh.
Do you remember Johnny
Okay.
Polo, aka Raven,
Yeah. Oh
aka?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Like
I
I
hadn't thought of it,
tonight
but now that you
tonight it,
say it,
and it hasn't been any other point till literally tonight. And I think either Pete or Ryan or somebody was talking about how he's going to serve as sort of the dick manager to this group of second generation people. But like Raven, whatever Polo, Johnny Polo also could wrestle and take bumps. And so like I don't know what it was, but it literally, as I'm watching tonight's episode, I'm like, oh my goodness, like that is what he's reminding me of right now. And let's see where this goes as he continues to assemble his
yeah.
group.
Yeah. So Johnny Polo was before my time as a wrestling fan, but I have seen some of Raven stuff as Johnny Polo. Just looking back in the archives and whatnot. Um, and yeah, I definitely see that, and I think that that would be a great role for him. And actually, I missed when Pete said that earlier in the chat that Lexus might have found his role as a heel manager. I think that would be I think that would probably be the best role for him because he could still get in the ring and wrestle, when he needs to. Um, but I think his moneymaker isn't his wrestling. He's a good
Right,
wrestler.
right,
He's a
right.
good wrestler. His moneymaker is how friggin' annoying he is and how charismatic he is. So I think that could be a bang up role for him, actually, for
Yeah, let
sure.
him use his
Yeah.
strengths with talking and sort of scene building and all that, and let the wrestlers be the wrestlers. And I think that could be a really cool group.
Yeah. No, I really do. I like the idea of bringing these wrestlers together that have not really had any interaction together other than maybe across from each other in the ring. And the only thing that's tying them together is the fact that they are second generation and they feel like they've been overlooked. Um, and man, I feel like that could make for some really good TV, and that could give a lot of ammunition to somebody who's as good on the mic as Lexus King is. So
And
you've
I
talked me
think
into it.
too, and I think too, not right now, because I think obviously this is in the very infant stage of letting him be the little whisper voice to these second generation folks. But if there's anybody on the main roster that they want to come take a vacation down in NXT, let it be a second generation person who comes down and maybe even tries to mentor King to move him to the next level of faction leader. So I think you could find a way to tie this in to the main roster where you're not trying to be Legacy 2.0. You know what I mean? Like you're not trying to replicate what that was because these folks don't have that name value, but you very much could build a bridge to because the main roster folks love reminding you second and third generation and this person was like
Yep.
so you could send one of those folks down and sort of give the pointers to help this island of misfit toys really sort of stick out and develop an identity, and I think it can be a cool thing.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. Um, Going back a little bit, but I got to bring this up because I like it. Goodfell in the chat talking about, I'm assuming talking about Tavion Heights. Bring back the three eyes, but put his spin on it. Iconic, income, and patient, and build a character from there. Oh, yeah. I kind of like something like that. Um, I feel like Tavion probably. Yeah, I was gonna say he probably is gonna find his groove as a face, but he might actually make a pretty good heel. Now I'm thinking about it. I don't know, but
I think a lack of natural personality charisma probably lends itself better to being a heel because then
yeah,
you don't have the same expectations of having to show up.
well, that's
Um,
it. Yeah, it's so much easier to be a heel than it is a face.
yeah.
So
I just don't know if he has that in him, right? Even with that, does he?
yeah, so I don't know. I hope so. I hope so because I really like Tavion Heights. I just there's not a lot to sink your teeth into with the character just yet. So I feel it's very two-dimensional. Um, so um, I also like Ryan's idea about Dom going down and taking King and his faction under his wing for a little bit, and that makes sense because like it almost feels like Dom's been on the outs with Judgment Day for a little while, but I don't think they'll be bringing Dom down to NXT, at least on any long-term basis.
Well, and
So
knowing Dom's propensity for his knowledge of wrestling history, his links to both his actual father and his father, I think you would have to tread really lightly with Dom in saying something stupid about Pillman, or like telling a story that like nobody, you know what I mean? Because I know that they've tried
yeah,
largely not to wash Pillman out in the way that they have washed Benoit out, but like I would be I'd have a good chat with Dom before anything happens, just to make sure we don't sort of cross any lines that the admins don't want you crossing. That would be my
yeah,
only worry about that.
yep, yeah. But no, that could be a hell of a pairing. Like, oh my God, that could, they I think they play off each other almost as well, if not as well, as Ethan Page and Chelsea Green. I think it'll be a good pairing. And Pile Driver Pete agrees. Um, all right, let's keep going. We still have a couple matches to talk about. Um, Actually, sorry, we got 3 matches still to talk about. Wow. We talked about most of the backstage stuff, though. Dion Lennox versus Miles Bourne in the ladder match qualifier for next week. We saw Dion Lennox pick up the win here before the match. Ethan Page and Ricky Saints. Wow, I haven't done that in a while. Ricky Saints. We're talking to Miles Bourne backstage. Ethan Page seems to be trying to either get under the skin of Miles Bourne or recruit him, but he keeps kind of trying to turn him to the dark side, I guess. And he has been for maybe, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks now. That played directly into the finish of this match. Ethan Page was standing outside the ring for the majority of the match, kind of, I guess, cheering Miles Bourne on, but more in a way of like, yeah, see, I told you, this is exactly it. This is what we're looking for. Just keep doing this. And trying to bring, I guess, that intensity out of him for whatever his motivations are for doing so. Towards the end of the match, Ethan Page takes a North American title and slides it to Miles Bourne, who had just been knocked down, and tries to give it to Miles Bourne to use as a weapon. Bourne stands up and he's holding the title, and it looks like he's contemplating it for a second there. Then he turns around, the referee sees it, ref grabs the belt away from him, which allowed Lennox to pick him up. I think it was a Michinoku driver or something like that, and then pin him for the win there to qualify for that ladder match next week and show up in the main event segment, as we've already talked about. I thought this was a great match. I think these guys have some great chemistry. Miles Bourne, I thought it was. I think it's hilarious that his like catchphrase, or at least the phrase that they have on his Titantron video, if we're still calling it a Titantron, I don't know. I'm old. I do. It just says, "Can you hear me now?" And I love it. He's deaf.
Great. Where's the guy from
the Verizon guy?
The Verizon guy. Yes, that would be hilarious.
That was awesome. But yeah. So love what they're doing with Miles Bourne. I'm really interested to see if he's going to be an opponent for Ethan Page, or if he's going to join Ethan Page. Because I could kind of see it going either way with the way that they've been playing it, even though Miles has been like kind of strict, saying he doesn't want anything to do with Ethan Page, but we saw him contemplate using the belt as a weapon. So yeah, let me throw it to you, Dion Lennox, Miles Bourne in the qualifier.
Yeah, I can hold whatever. I think you hit on all. We can try to keep moving. I do think Miles Bourne is in a bit of a rebuild phase too, and I hate using that word because I think it's overused. But like, they gave him the shot at the top there a handful of months ago, and now he's kind of back in the middle trying to figure things out. In the same way that they need to be careful about Keanu Carter and his Oba Femi Light. The the comparisons to Randy Orton still are strong, even if they're not like giving lip service to it. And so I think that they need to be in that position of letting him really develop himself. And I think you said this, I'm sure Kelly has said this, beyond just the talented deaf guy. Um, and I think it's important that they highlight his deafness periodically, because I do think that's a really cool representation piece and a really cool way of
Yep.
letting folks with hearing impairments understand that they're wanted in this space as well. But he can't be the deaf wrestler. He has to be a wrestler who happens to have a hearing impairment, and
Yep.
that's a very thin line to sort of walk between, because I think he's insanely talented as well, but they really have to invest in him and his character building in a way that sort of branches him away from a young Randy Orton.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think, I think he's got all the potential in the world, and I've been a huge proponent of them um, positioning Miles Bourne in just the way that you've described. He happens to be, or he's a wrestler who just happens to have a hearing impairment. So there needs to be just more representation in wrestling, period, right? Every once in a while, you might get a token person of a different race, or somebody like Zach Gowen, or something like that. But generally, well, I mean, I guess just all you got to do is take a look at who Triple H and Linda McMahon are buddying up to, and it should tell you everything you need to know. But uh, there definitely needs to be more representation in wrestling, and I think somebody along the lines of Miles Bourne, he's got a great story to get to where, like the actual person Miles Bourne is a great story getting to where he's gotten. But then you present him on TV as like, a credible threat, as somebody that, could be that like Randy Orton type level. But yeah, I think he needs to find his own, I don't say find his own way, but he does kind of need to do something that's
Well,
going to get people away from that young Randy Orton thing. I think.
but do you know that it could be as simple as putting him in pants, right? Like
Yeah.
I think wearing the trunks, even though they're not styled the same way, like it's on the nose. It's right there. Like even just as simple as putting him in long tights. Try that. See where that goes. Like I
Yeah.
think
Or
you
have
don't
him
have
just
to.
grow his hair out a little bit. Not saying
I,
like grow it out, but make it a
yeah,
little longer,
you don't have to do. You don't have to do big drastic shifts in his character. Like literally, it's. I say this with love, of course, because my mother has a handful of these. But like it's like allergy testing, right? Like you don't give somebody peanuts and fish and dairy all at the same time and see what the hell happens. Like you have to give them one, see how they react. Give them the next one, and so I think if you do those little things with him, each of those can work towards him sort of establishing himself outside of the shadows that he obviously casts or falls under.
Thankfully, I'm not allergic to fish, but the other two, sorry, I'm not allergic to peanuts, but the other two, I do have a fish
Oh
allergy, which is weird.
no!
River fish. I can't have river fish. I can have saltwater
Stick to
fish,
those
no
ocean
problem.
fish. There you
Yeah,
go. There you go.
ocean fish, no problem. But man, I love me some salmon, and I can't eat it, and it sucks. But
Well, tuna's really good.
yeah, tuna is good. Tuna is good. I got a great sushi place like right behind me, so
Love
there
it.
we
So
go.
do we. Yes, we have a good one
Yeah.
here too.
Um, anyway, totally going off on a tangent about my allergies. Um, all right, so that's crossing that off the list. Um,
I know
I
you're saving the best for last year, Nate. I
uh,
know you are
I was
hanging
just
on to this women's
I
match.
know.
Let's
I
go.
was just gonna say, well, we still have OTM versus Dark State, so we can talk
I
about that first.
know.
Um, Pile Driver Pete comes in with some shrimp. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna break for a second. I'm not a huge sports fan, as I think everybody. Well, I don't know. I've said it many times. You may or may not know, but I'm not a huge sports fan. A good friend of mine happens to have season tickets to the Celtics, and he's got them in this really nice. Um, uh,
Like the club level.
it's like a club level, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's like the VIP club level that you can get at the TD Garden, like the Boston Garden Society, I think it's called. Anyway, all you can eat shrimp cocktail in there. I went to go see the Celtics with him about a month ago, and I ate my weight in shrimp cocktail. Anyway, that's beside the point. OTM versus Dark State for the NXT tag titles. Dark State was Sugars and Griffin because they're the two that hold the titles. This yeah, pretty good match. Nemo, sorry, Price. Yeah, I think it was
Lucian Price and
Lucian
Bronco
Price,
Nima. Yes.
Bronco Nima. I'm trying to remember. No, it was Bronco Nima that was in the ring. Yeah, for the most part, for the majority of the match, kind of getting beat down by Dark State. Every once in a while, he get his stuff in, and then we saw Lucian get the hot tag towards the end. But unfortunately, Vanity Project interfered and allowed Dark State to retain. But that also then brought Hank and Tank out, the former tag team champions. It also brought the Culling out. And I feel like there was one other team that I didn't write down, but I think it might have been it. And kind of, kind of some chaos in the tag division there. I don't know. I mean, it was a good match. Dark State, like I said, they're not really doing it for me. I do like the fact that Saquon Sugar's gear looks like it has sprinkles all over it because his last name's Sugars, and it looked like it was sprinkles. I thought that was hilarious. I don't think that's what they were going for, but that's what I saw. Um, yeah, I don't know. Glad to see OTM back and kind of being you're very dominant as far as I'm concerned. Especially Price, like I said, with that hot tag. And I'm hoping this kind of leads into a tag team title reign for OTM because I think not only is it deserved, but I think the fans will go nuts for it. I think
Yeah.
people at the Performance Center go crazy for it. So let me throw it to you on the last match of the night. We still got one more to talk about, but on the second to last match of the night.
Yeah, I like this too. I thought I think OTM looks infinitely better in the ring than when they first were getting started. So whatever opportunity they were offered behind the scenes to put work in, it very much seems like they took that opportunity and ran with it. I would imagine also, and I have friends that a good handful of wrestling fan friends that still live in Florida, um, that will sometimes comment on Coconut Loop um, shows that they're able to go to, and I think they are getting a lot of work on that loop too, which is good. That said, there were a couple of spots in this match where I think timing was off, which happens again, which happens. Um, but Overall, I think they looked really good. I think it is important that the crowd is chanting for them, um, because they could very easily just cheer to cheer. Um, so that was a good sign. I also really, and I found myself a couple times thinking to myself, I really like Osiris Griffin's look. Like, I feel
Yeah,
like he has a unique, I mean, he's a big guy and there's a lot of big, but he just had a really unique look. And I thought, boy, if they just give him a little bit of time, I think he could be a solid singles guy. Or if him and Sugars are the Thunder and Lightning, because I think there have been plenty of tag teams in WWE history where there's a smaller guy and a bigger guy, and they've done very well. They can break out a dark state and sort of form their own. I think they could work very well together because I do think they have a good look together. I think that the WWE needs to reset back to the mid '90s where everybody's gimmick was an occupation, because I think Mr. Sugars could become the baker's man or something like that. Um,
please,
and
please don't give them any ideas.
chef hat and frost a bowl of frosting, and it'll be epic. Um, Also, I hate to be this guy, but Ryan, if they happen to hand you two, I will gladly pay shipping to put one in my office of my menagerie of collectibles at my office. But if not, I understand.
For people that are listening, Ryan says, since I brought up basketball, Ryan's heading to a Raptors game next Wednesday, and apparently they're partnering with WWE to give out Rey Mysterio masks designed after the Raptors. Yeah, if you can get three, I'd take one too,
I
and
will
I'll add it.
gladly put it in my office.
Yeah, I'll add it. Well, I'll add it to my other Rey Mysterio mask.
Ah.
I'm I don't know. I printed this out. I'm thinking I may end up making a little bit of a Rey Mysterio display with different
Ooh.
colors and stuff. But anyway.
So in any event, I liked it. I in the way later in the show where I kind of liked the extracurriculars, I thought this one was especially with the first match of the night. I thought it was clunky to have all the different groups come out in that way, because I do think it took away from what was a pretty solid tag team match. You know what I mean? Like I do think that they were putting some good work in, and I understand where the groups came from and why they were out there. But I thought in this way, um, it felt too clunky to start the show with that, and so I was not a fan of all the extracurricular. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see if maybe here as we go into sort of stand and deliver season and mania season and sort of the draft. I think we could be seeing a push for OTM, and I'm for it. And I think
Yeah.
it's cool to see them and Jada Parker both exist and now thrive without each other. I thought it did what it needed to do when they were together, but I am really, really happy to see that they have been able to establish themselves independent of each other. And so I hope that can continue as well. Um, and then, yeah, again, I think we all are sort of been saying for a while that Dark State is sort of a ship without an oar. And I think it would serve a lot of them well to just sort of be done, like just at this point, just get rid of the group, even if you want to keep the three guys that were a part of the match today as maybe a three-person group, because I think Dion Lennox very much can and should be a singles guy. Let him do his own thing. Um, but whatever. It's not my money and it's not my TV time I have to fill. But I
Yep.
just I think the group drew too many comparisons to Mustafa Ali's group, and then they didn't really break out of that. So fine,
Yeah.
but I think they're talented guys, and I think they're young enough, and enough of the main roster fans have no idea who they are yet, and so they're not dead in the water in the way that Retribution was, especially with
Slapjack.
those dumb names. Don't get me started. I'm such a Dijak fan, and I'm just
I
my heart
know.
aches every time I see him on not WWE TV, thinking about the classics he had with Keith Lee, the classics he had with Velveteen Dream. Like he should be on the main roster in the WWE, putting on bangers, and
Yeah.
he's not.
Well, but what he is doing now, Dijak is now working at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy, helping to train people like Ricky Smokes. So there is that. He's still doing stuff, and it's kind of cool because get to actually see him up close and personal when I go to their
That is
shows, which
cool.
is
That
which is
is cool.
sweet. Um, Actually, I don't know if I sent you. I showed it on the show once, but I took a really cool picture of Dijak at a show, trying to drink a Mountain Dew like Stone Cold to drink a beer.
Oh no,
Uh,
no, no,
yep,
no.
yep. Um, but anyway, Ryan, by the way, we were kidding. You don't need to go nuts looking for a Rey Mysterio mask for us. I just want to throw that out there. But anyway, that's the show.
No,
I know
no,
it's
no, no.
yeah.
You
All
jerk.
right.
Back up. Let's go.
All right. All right. All right. All right.
This is what Pete and Goodfella and Ryan and CJ and everybody have come here to talk about. Your
Uh,
your favorite wrestler, Nikita Lyons. Let's talk about him.
yes. So we saw a backstage segment with Nikita Lyons. Um, I actually didn't write much on this so I don't really remember what the segment was. But Nikita Lyons, I wrote down she's trying out a new Crystal Karen gimmick. I feel like her name would be Karen, and she would believe in the power of harnessing crystals, or something like that. I don't know. She was definitely trying something new out tonight. I don't know if she's been doing that on Evolve or not, so I haven't been keeping up with Evolve. But I will agree with Goodfella. She looked good. She looked like she dropped a little bit of weight. I will also say I feel like she has stepped up her game in the ring a little bit. I hate to say it because I don't like her, but yeah, I don't know. But I do feel like she stepped up her game in the ring a little bit tonight. Um, okay, we said we weren't going to say it on air earlier, but I really liked. But I forget what you said. It was a cross between Carol Baskin
Yeah, from Tiger King.
from Tiger King, and then
Yeah,
what were the other two?
your neighborhood meth dealer, and then because you were saying Crystal Karen, so that's where I thought the
Oh,
meth
right,
dealer.
right, right. Yeah, okay.
Um, and so yeah, very much like the soccer mom who has the side hustle in meth, but also like thinks she has the celebrity of Carol Baskin. Like it was all wrapped into one for me.
Yeah, yeah. Like I thought that was such a great comparison.
But listen,
Um,
now that we're talking, what I do think is happening, quite honestly, this gimmick shift, right? Because they've gone away from like the full leather bound like um, um, temptress or whatever. But I wonder if they're trying to pair her with Monroe, and not necessarily form a faction, but like
that's
in
right.
the
She was
same
talking Monroe in that segment. That's
in
right.
this in the same way that TNA has their elegance group. Her vibe tonight was very much. It was not sort of the urban version of the Passenger Princess. It was like I'm trying to speak your language and show you that I can be one of you. And I know a lot of us are thinking that Blake Monroe is on her way to the top, to the main roster, but like that had a real feeling of like, let's see if the two of them can be a tag team or a group for now to see if they can't. Um, well, more Blake helping Nikita Lyons, excuse me, but like there was a big shift in what she was to what she was tonight.
Yeah. No, I kind of think it could work. I mean, the gimmick in and of itself is annoying. It's super annoying. Which is a great gimmick for a heel. It makes me not like her even more, which is a good gimmick for a heel. Um, but like I said, I got to give credit where credit is due. It feels like she has put a lot of effort into getting better. Um, the timing tonight felt a lot better. It didn't seem, it would seem like there's a lot of air between kicks, and there was a couple of those tonight where she tried to go for a roundhouse or something, and there was definitely a lot of air there. But uh, I think she stepped up, and I think that, like you said, the pairing with Blake Monroe and kind of using Nikita Lyons as her heavy could work out. And I didn't think about it at the time, but that comparison to the Elegance brand, that that could work. Like if they kind of went in that direction, obviously not a ripoff of the Elegance brand, but kind of taking the Blake Monroe character and I guess extending that out to Nikita Lyons, almost in a similar vein as how Alexa Bliss kind of absorbed Bray Wyatt's gimmick,
Yeah, yeah.
back in the day, something along those lines. So I think that could certainly work. But yeah,
I
yeah,
just wanted to make sure you had the platform to sing the praises of your favorite wrestler, so that's all.
yeah. I know.
You're welcome.
So I mean, that's the thing is like I don't seem to like the person Nikita Lyons, but and I have not been a fan of the gimmick or the wrestling or anything, but I'm I don't want to say I liked what I saw tonight, but I think it could serve her pretty well if she kind of continues down this path, with whatever this gimmick is, whether it is with Blake Monroe or she stays on her own. Um, I think it could work for her, and I could see it having some good main roster appeal.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, I'm gonna, if it looks like a duck, I'm gonna call it a duck. She's still showing off that whole sexual side of her, but it is in a bit of a different way, and I think it's a bit more than just, hey, look at me, I'm thick. And I rap. Um,
Huh.
it's kind of, it's got a little bit more depth to it. Not much, but a little bit more depth to it.
Well, and do you know too? I think um, where part of tonight we've talked about performers who were asked to turn it up to 11 and they either can't or they haven't. I feel like Nikita, since she's sort of been in NXT, was told turn it up to 11 and she went to 12. And she's like, I think she has some trouble filtering herself. Like, I believe that a lot of this is within her personality, but like, it's like where we argue for Tavion to show us more personality. This I would tell her pull a little bit back because like I think she's going into like caricature mode and like not in a good way where like you might actually turn people off because they think you're either trying to be things you're not or like push it to the extreme where it's like let people get to know you in whatever form that is. You don't need to necessarily put on 6 layers because you think you have to because for one reason or another it hasn't gotten the response. So I wonder if there can be some talk in the back of filtering a little bit because I think that could serve her well as well.
Yeah. Um, Ryan in the chat feels like the elegant brand is a ripoff of the beautiful people, which kind of is. Um, I do like the what is his name, Mr. Elegance, the new guy that they got in there. Um, I don't know. He seems like he could add
Oh,
some
also
depth to it.
a good song by Marilyn Manson too, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great song. It's good. It's a great song. It used to be the SmackDown theme. Um, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Beautiful people. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it was the second SmackDown theme after that, after the original one that you couldn't understand the lyrics to. Um, but anyway, so all right, I think that is now going to
Oh,
bring
I
us to the end of our show. Oh,
yes, sorry, but let me just because we started with Ricky Saints as we
ah,
opened on Joe Hendry's lifeless body. I thought it
yes,
was kind of funny, as often as you and I and Kelly and Tom and all the iterations of this show in the past have covered. I love that in his opening sort of comment, he says, and here we thought the parking lot was the most dangerous place to be in NXT. And I was like, yes!
yes, yep.
Somebody's been listening to our podcast because finally they got the point across.
Exactly, exactly. No, I actually liked the way that they opened the show tonight with Ricky Saints, and they didn't have Booker or Vic say anything for a little bit. Um, it played into the ego of Ricky, even though I know ego is Ethan's thing, but the ego of Ricky, um, and yeah, I think I don't know. Ricky is such a star. He really is. Like I feel like we kind of talking about you know. At the beginning of the show talking about the NXT, men's division, and I feel like Ricky, even if he doesn't win the title, he is going to be carrying him and Ethan Page. I feel like both could be two that can carry the men's division for a little while.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, I think
Oh,
that's going to be the end
hold
of our
on.
show.
Look, I'm
Oh,
going to cut you again
gonna
because
cut me
Goodfella
again.
reminded us. Do we want to offer some NXT Rumble picks?
Oh, Rumble picks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Um, so earlier in the night, somebody brought it up already. Since Soruka, JC Jane, and Lola Vice, they were not there tonight, probably en route to Saudi. So those are definitely my picks. Also, maybe Kalani Jordan. We didn't see her tonight either.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like she could be somebody. I was going to say somebody that could maybe do the Kofi Kingston spot, but that could also be Sol Ruka. Could be kind of doing something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think those four women are definitely Royal Rumble ready. Good picks for the men. Obafemi, I was reading that he is all but confirmed at this point for the Rumble. So I definitely think we're gonna see Femi make his main roster debut at the Rumble. Um, And then I'm kind of thinking maybe Joe Hendry for the pop.
Yeah,
I mean, he did it. Was he in the Rumble last year?
yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay, yeah. So I know they did it already, but maybe Joe Hendry again. Um, I'm also thinking maybe we might wind up seeing like a TNA guy or two, um,
Well, and then I was
especially.
going to ask you, do you think we see any AAA guys? Like, is
I was
Mr. Iguana going to be in the Royal Rumble? I think so.
took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, and maybe Mr. Iguana. There are a couple others in AAA that might work, but I feel like Mr. Iguana, everybody loves Mr. You don't even have to know who he is, and you could just see him and be like, I love that guy. Like he makes his entrance, and you're like, yep, I'm all about it. Um, so I think that's a good pick too. Um, so yeah, let me throw it to you. What are yours?
Well, I think it's possible to see Jasper Troy. Um, I wonder, um, are you, because they like to have a big show person, and I think Oba is going to be the big show person. And so, do you want two big show people? But I think, again, if you want to see what Jasper looks like with the superstars of the main roster in a setting where not much of is expected of him, and he doesn't have to do a whole lot, I think this would be a great way to bring him in now. But regardless of whether this show was in Saudi Arabia or somewhere in the U.S., people are not going to pop for him. Like they don't know who he is. But um, I do think that is a possibility from the NXT side. And I honestly wonder if I know he's not getting called up, but I wonder if Ethan Page shows up. I think that because of the tie-in with Chelsea, and the fact that I think when they are ready to pull the trigger on him coming up, he's going to do great, and I'm so happy for him too because he was so underutilized in his previous employment, that I think that he could be an entrant somewhere in the middle of the pack, and that would be good to see too. And then I think, yeah, the women that we talked about, including Blake Monroe, probably are the major ones.
Yep.
I can't imagine anybody else from NXT. Um, if I'm going to give some wild card picks for the women's side, because she's the champ, maybe Lei Ying Lee shows up,
Ooh,
as part of TNA, which would be good for her to get her flowers too, because I think she deserved a little bit better prior to
yeah,
leaving the first time.
Isaiah Lee, yeah.
And then from AAA, I don't know that there are too many women that anybody would be familiar with. I think if you're doing anybody with AAA, it's going to be Mr. Iguana, and then like maybe second tier like Psycho Clown, um, and one of the Eho Dells. More to get some interaction with Dom because I'm sure Dom's going to be in the Rumble, and I know he's feuded with a few of those AAA guys, so there might be a chance for some interaction that way too. So yeah, but it is Rumble's my favorite time of the year too, um, and I very much am excited to kind of see who the surprises are because, like I said, I don't think, and it was either Pete or I think Ryan, well, or maybe Goodfellas, sorry, that pointed out that because it's in Saudi Arabia, they might be paying for some legends to be there, regardless of their fit. But I really think that this is going to be mostly a current main roster and NXT slash AAA. Like I think you're going to see a lot. I can't think of the legacy folks that
Yeah.
would
No,
typically show up in a thing like this.
no, and as we were talking earlier about NXT kind of being in a reset phase, in some respects the WWE is too, especially on the men's side. I mean, John Cena's gone. AJ Styles is kind of on his farewell tour, even though he won't say it. The Undertaker's gone. I mean, all of the big names are kind of starting to move on. We still have people like Randy Orton and CM Punk and stuff, but I feel like it's kind of time for them to start investing in that next level, next group of stars. And they've already started with people, like Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed to a point, um, and there's others that I
Yeah,
probably can't think of off the top of my head. Um, but but yeah, I mean, I think that's a good call. That this Rumble is probably going to be a lot of current stars, but also the next generation of stars. I'm hoping we get a surprise legend entrant here and there. Somebody like a Lita or a Molly Holly in the women's division or something like that, or Michelle McCool.
Oh boy.
That would be amazing. If you can't detect a hint of sarcasm in my voice there, just saying there was a hint of sarcasm in my voice there. But I don't think we'll be seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin. Pile Driver Pete says, what about Stone Cold? Unless Saudi was to pay a shitload of money and Austin was morally inept enough to take it, which I don't know. We're talking about wrestlers, so everybody's a carny. Who knows? Maybe. But I don't know. I don't see that. I could certainly see him. Goodfella brings up the fact that he's probably going to be doing Raw and 316 in Texas. I mean, that makes sense. Him showing up in Texas, but especially on Stone Cold Day. But I don't see him entering the Rumble.
Yeah, no.
So I'd love it. I'd pop. I'd
Oh
pop
yeah,
like
everybody
crazy.
would
But
pop. The broken
but
glass, come on, everybody would go crazy.
oh my God, yeah. So, but all right. I think this is now the fourth time I've said it. But this is the end of our show. I'm Nate Lindberg. You can check the things I do out at natelindberg.com. Yeah, Kevin, who are you?
Uh, Nate, mostly what I was trying to introduce you to is what we call the Midwestern goodbye, where
Oh,
the first time you say goodbye, it doesn't mean like you literally will be there for another 45 minutes. Um,
that's also an Italian thing. And with the last name like Lindberg, you might not think I'm Italian, but I am mostly Italian.
well, with the last name of Cattani, I am Italian. So thank you for having me. And if I may ask for some good vibes, my oldest daughter is in entered her first wrestling tournament this coming Sunday, and
Nice.
so chat and whoever send all of our good vibes to my daughter because she's super excited but super nervous. And so I hope she just goes out there and does her best. But it'll be cool to kind of see her be in
Yeah,
that space. So I'm excited for her. But yes, thank you. I'm Kevin Cattani. You can find me all over the internet sphere at KP Cattani. Come chat with me. And as always, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you, Nate. And we'll do it again soon.
absolutely. That we will. That we will. I think Kelly will be back next week, and he was doing the flagship with Wade this week, so he couldn't record with us tonight. But yeah, I should be here too. And until then, horseshoe.